Finally, the first time on Rashad G Reviews, I will be covering Can't believe as long as I've had this poster up on my wall since I've started Rashad G Reviews, I've never reviewed this movie. I was supposed to review this actually 3 years ago, and I never got around to it. Better late than never. So, I'll be joined by my man Anthony A. Perez. This continues our tit for tat saga, where we pick movies out for each other to watch that we normally would not watch. So Anthony A. Perez is going to be joining me for Dead Presidents, and I joined him for Sicario, which he should be having up real soon. But I'm going to leave the link in the description for Anthony A. Perez. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. He's almost at 1,000 subs. So damn it, after this video is over with, go check him out. Now! I mean later, you know what I mean? Dead Presidents. The story of a young man named Anthony, played by Larenz Tate, who graduates high school and wants to do something different besides college. So he decides to join the Marine Corps because his daddy always taught him the Marines made a man out of you. So he joins the Corps, goes to Vietnam, comes back a different person. He's now a killer. He's having nightmares with all the motherfuckers that he's killed, and he's broke. Deadly combination. Doesn't know what to do, can't get a good job. A pimp is screwing his old lady who was pregnant, who he's not even sure if the baby is his. So many problems are piling up on him. So what is a brother to do? He robs a bank. That's no solution to your problems. Some people go to drugs, some people rob. He decided to rob a bank. Can't judge this man. You never know what you'll do until you're in this situation. If you watch this movie, you'll know this man was in a situation where his back was in a corner. And he knew a couple of things. He knew how to rob shit. He knew how to do war strategy shit. And he knew how to handle a gun. So there you go. That's Dead Presidents in a nutshell, combined with the killer fucking soundtrack that took 2 albums to release. You had Dead Presidents Volume 1 and Dead Presidents Volume 2 soundtrack. One of the illest soundtracks ever. Every hot track in the 70s was on this fucking movie. And it also stars Chris Tucker. It stars Keith David, I think that's his name. I always get it mixed up. Is it Keith David or David Keith? The black dude, okay. Hakeem Woodbine, Nabushe Wright. And it's directed by the Hughes brothers, who also directed Menace to Society. This is their sophomore effort. Dead Presidents didn't get a lot of love when it came out. It's a cult classic now. I know black folks loved it. I loved it. I saw this. Matter of fact, the movie theater where I used to go to was right down the street from my high school. So me and my homeboy, we left football practice and we went to go see Dead Presidents right after practice, stinking and everything. And what an experience. This movie was as real as it gets, even though it was shot very stylistically. I'm gonna say it was shot more stylistically than Menace was. Menace was more of a grittier, grounded looking movie. Dead Presidents looked very stylish, very, there was some filters, there was a lot of crazy shots, you know what I'm saying? Like they put their foot in this creatively as far as how it was shot. But it was criticized for not being as good as Menace, and that's very unfair to do because Menace is such a special film, but I guess if you direct something really good like that and you direct another movie, they're gonna compare it to the original, so I get that. Siskel and Ebert shit on it. they didn't like the movie, but I loved it though, man. I loved it, and it's really a character study of the character of Anthony, and I thought Larenz Tate played that shit, I thought he played it to the T, because he pulled off playing a young, naive kid who was innocent, just a regular youth, and then you see him transition from that youthful kid to now he's a killer. He's a killer, and he's kind of crazy. And that moment where he let people know he was a killer was when your boy Cowboy, played by Terrence Howard, tried him as if he was a kid, and it was one of those situations where, look, we ain't little no more. I ain't little no more. I'm gonna fuck you up, and that's damn sure what he did. So before I really get more into this movie, what I thought about it, I'm gonna give the floor to Anthony A. Perez. My man, what did you think about Dead Presidents?
Rashad and all his viewers, thank you so much once again for having me here in another video, my friend. This time to talk about Dead Presidents, a movie that I've heard of and I've seen the poster behind you in your videos 1,000 times, and I've always been curious of it, but I had no knowledge of it going into this movie. And right out of the gate, what I'll say is I really didn't know anything about this movie, so I was really pleasantly surprised to say that I really enjoyed this film, and that throughout the film I really didn't know what to expect. I was really happy with the cast of this film. You have a really great star-studded cast here that gives a really solid and believable performance throughout the entire film. Even people like Chris Tucker I just didn't expect to be in this movie based on the posters, and just in general I really didn't have any idea about anything that this movie would pertain to. And yeah, on an overall, I enjoyed this film, though I will say right now my least favorite part about this movie was the way it ended. It did end in a way that was realistic, and I understood why it went down that path, but by the time the movie ended, it made me feel like there was a good chunk of the film that probably could have been cut down a little bit so that the film was a little bit shorter, maybe cutting out some fat on the story that I feel really never got resolved. And mainly it comes around the character Anthony's child and that whole relationship. I almost feel like that whole section of the movie feels a little bit pointless to me, mainly because they never really come full circle with that. They never really come back to that in any way, shape, or form. You know, it is this tragic story of this guy who wanted to do something different, didn't want to go to college, and ended up going off to the military, fought in the Vietnam War, and then he ends up pulling this big crime when he comes back and goes to prison for it. And I just feel like leaving it right there after everything that happened when he came back from the war kind of felt a little bit cheap, and I felt like they kind of, I don't know, they didn't do everything that I felt they really could do with this movie. Now that's in no way, shape, or form to say I didn't like this movie. I really did enjoy this film. Right out of the gate, I really enjoyed all the character introductions at the beginning of the film. There's so many great actors in this film, like I mentioned, and I just had a fun, good time just being able to see these characters go through these adventures. And I think what really kind of surprised me is I had no idea that this movie was gonna become a war film at a certain point. And when they go to war and they go to the Vietnam War, man, it gets bloody. The practical effects of the bodies on the ground, the guy that chops off the other guy's head and keeps it as a souvenir. This movie had a really great use of practical effects. So all the practical effects as far as cars and the sound effects, the guns, the explosions, the dead bodies, it was all really well done. The one practical effect that I found pretty funny throughout the film that happened twice was there was a moment earlier in the film during the war sequence when the main, like their leader, or the guy who's, you know, their sergeant, he ends up headbutting this guy, and there's just this dramatic amount of really brightly red blood that comes out of his face, which I thought was hilarious. And then another guy later on during the big crime that they're pulling at the end, he hits this guy, Anthony hits this guy over the face with the gun, and again, this, like, his nose just starts busting out with this really bright red blood. So I thought that was kind of funny as a little practical effects that I felt was a little bit over the top, but the rest of it was really well done. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the cinematography. Again, the performances I feel like just elevated the story and what was happening. There were some moments that felt a little bit slow, and again, with the film, you know, ending the way it did, I just felt like there was a good section of the film that probably just could have been cut, and they could have focused on some other parts of the story. There were some characters that came in and out, and I felt like we were supposed to care for them a little bit more. There's the two characters that die during the big heist that they pull at the end, and I just didn't really care for those two characters because I felt like they didn't have a lot of screen time. They were set up earlier in the film, but I didn't really care too much for their death. But I did enjoy seeing the story play out for Anthony. I enjoyed Skip, played by Chris Tucker. I enjoyed the character of Kirby, and there was just a lot of really solid characters in this film, and on an overall level, I did really like it, man. So thank you for putting me onto this movie. I definitely am excited to check this movie out again in the future, maybe review it over on my channel with a full-blown review. But yeah, great performances, great use of practical effects, great cinematography, and a good story. You know, I already expressed how I feel about the ending and some things they could trim out, but for the overall, I did really enjoy it. And one thing that I did think was funny that I felt like I should at least mention was that there was a noticeable amount of ADR in this film. And ADR is a very popular thing that's in most movies, and it's done in most movies, especially action movies. And for anybody who doesn't know what ADR is, it's when they go into the studio after the movie's been shot, and maybe the shot has too much background noise, or it's an action sequence, and they'll have the actors come in and record their lines again, so over the clip so that they can actually match the face, what's happening on screen, and their voice, and you can hear their audio more clearly. And there was a few moments in this film where I noticed maybe they were far off in the back and their mouth didn't match what was coming out, or just a couple moments where I could tell, even though they were synced up with what they were saying, that you could tell that it wasn't coming out of them in that moment. So yeah, on an overall level, I did enjoy this film. I do appreciate you putting me onto this movie, man, and I'll see you in the next one.
Tight. That's what's up, man. Hey, yo, I'm glad you dug this. I thought you would dug this. Very few people I know did not like this movie. And can it get slow at times? Probably, but it didn't bother me because I'm so invested in these characters. And I know one thing you said is that, you know, they set up some characters that, you know, in some subplots that really didn't go anywhere. I guess you were somewhat kind of right, but I'm gonna have to disagree because everybody that was in Anthony's life, you know, had an impact on the film and the outcome of the film. You know, the whole situation with him and his girl and Cuddy, you know, the pimp, you know what I'm saying, that was the motivation for him to rob this bank, because he wasn't pulling in the money that he needed to support his woman and his 2 kids. And here's this pimp that is flashing money in his face and rubbing it in his face that he is giving him money. And probably one of the most cringe-worthiest scenes, well, cringe-worthy is in like, ooh, that was fucked up, was when he had the confrontation with Cuddy. That's his name, Cuddy. Yeah, when Cuddy, you know, knocked him out and he had the gun to his face, and he was like, "Merry Christmas, Santa Claus. Don't you ever in your fucking life bite the hand that feeds you, nigga." I think every man that watches, I don't care what color you are, any man that watches that had to feel something like, oh, because you're powerless. You know, and as a man, the worst thing we can feel is powerless. That was important to the story. All right, the homeboy that knew how to blow things up, the Spanish guy, he had a, you know, because he helped do the robbery, blow the truck up. But I get what you're saying though, because the characters that did die, oh, by the way, this is spoilers. The characters that did die, you know, during the bank robbery, you really didn't feel a whole lot because you really, like you said, they weren't like big characters like compared to like Chris Tucker or Kirby, you know. But but Chris Tucker, it was fucked up what happened to Chris Tucker. Yeah, that scene. I remember watching that with my little brother a long time ago, and that scene used to freak him out because you see Chris Tucker in the chair with the eyes white and shit, and it was green and everything, and yeah, that was some shit. And even the way the movie ended. Okay, you said you didn't like the way the movie ended, and I get that, because when you follow a character through a whole 2 hours, you go through this journey with them, and you want to have a satisfying ending. But like I said, this is some real shit, you know what I'm saying? And there's real consequences. He robbed his bank, he made a bad decision, and not only did the robbery go bad, but people died, and he had to pay for it, and the movie ended with him going to jail. Now, when I watched this, I did have tears in my eyes. My eyes were shrunk wrapped with tears. I felt it, because he wasn't a bad person, you know what I'm saying? He just wanted to provide for his family, and he wanted to help the people out that he loved, and he wasn't able to, and this is the only way he knew how to do it. You know, he got sent home from Vietnam with nothing. They just sent him back with some medals and a jacket and a hat. There you go back into the real world, find your own way. And even Kirby, the numbers guy who we used to run with, even Kirby was going through it. Kirby was struggling, and if you know anything about illegal numbers, those motherfuckers got paid. But I guess they was in a recession. Nobody was really getting no money. So it was like, damn, what do I do? Especially after this pimp pulled a gun in my face and dissed me in front of my girl. Then my girl, like, okay, that scene with him and his girl Juanita, come on. Did y'all not feel that shit? Did y'all not feel that shit where she tried to down him and he had to choke the shit out of her? So it's like, this is one of those movies where you see how a person gets in a situation where they're backed into a corner, and it's like, what else can I do? And that's what happened. So yeah, man, I love Dead Presidents, y'all. I love this movie. Lorenz Tate, great performance. Chris Tucker, you know, this is when he was really starting to blow up, because I think he did Friday right before this, and then after this, his career really took off. You know, Keith David, I keep forgetting. Kirby's one of the standouts, you know, with the one leg. Hey, when my man grabbed his leg and he was like, "Hey, everybody right here know I got a leg," and that motherfucker pulled the wrong one. Yep, Cuddy, who ended up being Pinky on Next Friday, and Terrence Howard in a very small role as Cowboy, got his ass kicked. This is just a great fucking film, y'all. Okay, I'm done rambling about this. If you haven't seen Dead Presidents, I'm sorry, I probably spoiled some shit. Watch this movie. If you have seen it, it's been a long time, watch this movie, man. I love this film. All right, coming of age, war movie, heist movie, all in one. The Hughes brothers didn't get a lot of love for this, but damn it, it's one of my favorites. I got the poster on my wall. I got presidents to represent me. Shit, Nas and Jay-Z even did a song about this in their first joints, man. Come on. Stop playing, put some respect on this movie's name. Anyways, Dead Presidents for me gets an A+. Alright? Not an A+++++ like Menace to Society, but it gets an A+. Alright? I love this movie almost as much as I love Menace. Alright? And there you have it. So Perez, thank you for joining me on this, homie. Once again, go to Anthony A. Perez. The link is in the description. Subscribe to his channel. And yeah, until the next tit for tat, y'all. This is Rashad G. Sign out this mug. If you like and did the content, by the way, hit that like and subscribe notification bell in the corner. Sign out this motherfucker. See you in the next video. Merry Christmas, Santa Claus.